All right. Hey, folks. My name is John McCoy. I'm the planning supervisor for the Department of Community Development. I've been with the county for almost 5 years now. So excited to be in the room today.
My name is Victor Morales. I'm the director of Parks and Recreation, and I've been kind of the person leading the charge on this kind of concept plan that you'll see.
And Brent Watts, Director of Communications, and excited to be able to share this concept with the public.
I'm Savannah Gunningle. I'm the administrative assistant for Parks and Recreation, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so we wanted to kind of take folks through some of the concepts and some of the things that folks have submitted over months and months and even years, to be quite honest, of things that they would like to see in the park. So Victor, how did this whole idea of the kind of the comprehensive plan or master plan, if you will, come together for this?
Yeah, so master plans are a pretty typical way that Parks and Recreation, community development, government offices tries to put out, be transparent. Here's what our next 10 to 15 years looks like, so that there's no surprises year after year when we're looking at the next project that we're looking to fund. The last time that this was done for Greenfield Recreation Park was in 2011. Before that was 1997. So around 10, 15 years, we're hitting that point now. The last plan really focused a lot on sports tourism, but this plan really has a nice blend of that as well as community recreation use and something really for everyone. So just that's why we're here.
Yeah, and when we're talking about plans, we even had recently the comprehensive plan. So this is not something that is, none of these are exact and set in stone. These are kind of a guidance or a pathway of allowing, for some of these things to happen maybe down the road. So, we've got to preface the fact that none of this today is past planned. It's not a done deal. These are all, kind of a vision of where you would like to see. And really not you, but also the citizens of the county have told you what they would like to see.
Yeah, and this is a community effort. So even though I'm the one who's kind of helping to move it along, this is based off of 2023 survey data, quality of life survey that went out on what people were looking for, looking at the comprehensive plan that the community development department had recently completed, stating that, looking for more use of trails and outdoor spaces for the public. And right now, this is very much draft 3 of draft 10. Right. There's so many things that are going to be happening in between. We had some public comment recently. We had some Facebook, questions that were asked of people. So really today, we really want to just kind of go through this and showcase that we're hearing people, we're listening to people, we're answering their questions. And this is just kind of the way that we decided online. A little kind of virtual tour would be a good way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because not a lot of folks, can get out sometimes to come to the things in person. So we want to make sure that we step you through some of these. So this is concept 1. So you've got a couple different concept plans, and take us through some of the things that are, I think, more certain at this point. We know that there could be, some things that are happening with lighting, with pickleball, bathrooms, restrooms, things like that.
Yeah.
Take us through some of the more certain things that you know of that would be happening more sooner than later.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll very much probably be focusing on concept 1, just so that people don't get lost in me transitioning between 1 and 2.
Right.
Just to kind of show it a little bit. Concept 2 looks very similar. It feels like you're at the eye doctor and it's 1 or 2.
Which is the difference, right?
Well, you can't really tell too much of a difference. There are some differences that you'll see in them. But for the most part, a lot of the features are the same, just in different size and scope and location, additional parking, different shapes of fields and things like that. So once again, I'll be focusing on concept 1 for that purpose there. But you'll see, so there's a handful of projects that the Board of Supervisors, when we were looking at redoing our plan. We have a capital improvement plan every year. So some things that were in the capital improvement plan of 2011, we were looking at completing. So those projects are kind of in motion already. And you'll see, I'll zoom in a little bit, hopefully be able to show you all a little bit about it. So we'll start down here in this kind of corner where you can see that these little yellow squares, and then also, this little kind of pavilion looking building here are kind of the lighting plan of these fields. So there's 2 big soccer fields right here. And so our plan is to be able to light those fields up to allow for additional kind of play at night. And then there's so much action going on at these fields here. Currently, these fields are divvied up on the bottom to be a little bit smaller as well. Note that all these fields, they seem really close together,
right.
But looking at the plan, there's probably right now now 12 feet in between fields, but the white lines are just paint.
Okay.
So we may decide to have smaller fields within that and allow for a little bit more seating around it too. So
Right.
none of those white lines around those football fields that you'll see above too are permanent. They're just kind of guidelines to show that we could fit 4 fields in this, kind of scenario here. But in reality, it would probably be 6, 8 fields for
Right.
the younger kids who don't want to run up and down. Even the adults who don't want to run up and down as much
Right.
have that ability. So these little yellow boxes are lights. Our plan is to, look at the rest of the park and find where lights can be as well. But just right now, these are kind of the ones that we're focusing on because once again, they were kind of in our original plan. And then there's a restroom here. For those of you who've been to Greenfield Recreation Park, we hear you.
Yeah.
We know that there's porta potties out there currently, and that's not a desirable place to be during the game. So, we're looking at the putting some restrooms there. Luckily, there was some future proofing that was done when they, put utilities out here in the 2012 timeframe. That there is some infrastructure to put bathrooms and some electricity right there to kind of have bathrooms there too.
And these are things that they're already in the works. I mean, they're within the next year or so.
Yeah. So
that.
our hope is that, with this plan, some people jokingly say that, this is a 10 to 15 year plan. Like, well, my kid is 2 years old. So when he goes to college, he'll really enjoy this, when he comes home. But the way that I want to go about it, and we're constantly looking for alternative funding ways. I'm constantly applying for grants and finding other ways to not utilize local tax dollars to pay for all of this. Finding alternative funds to make these things happen. So our hope is in the next year, you'll be seeing these lights, you'll be seeing these bathrooms here, and then some pickleball courts and tennis courts, as well as some other stuff kind of coming just, every 6 months, every year, you'll see something new at this park. So it gives you a reason to come back.
Right. Very good. Take us through a couple of other things on a wider scale. I think, some of the more, they're going to notice some really interesting designs in there. So we'll get to some of those, the newer things. But are there anything kind of next down the line that you foresee that would be kind of a focus, a community focus that folks have really asked for?
Yeah. So the big one to talk about really is right here with the kind of pickleball tennis courts. Is probably like our next phase after those lights in the bathrooms. They might even be going in tandem with some of those, depending on how they go. So a lot of what we get and a lot of community, responses to is pickleball and additional places to play tennis. So here you can kind of see the location. Once again, don't get too, nailed down on location. It may be that these courts end up over here, where number 6 is, and they might end up over here. They might end up on the other side of the park. But once again, don't get too tied to that. But the idea of having tennis and pickleball courts is crucial to us. One of the big things that people are asking for are that the courts are specifically for that sport. Okay. So it is a common thing to have multi-sport courts. It is a common thing to have blended lines so that on a tennis court, you have 2 pickleball courts on there. We want this park to really separate out those 2, disentangle the 2 so that each group feels as if they have a space that's dedicated for them. The way that the pickleball court lies and the way that a tennis court lies, it's just that 8 pickleball courts can fit in the same amount of space as about 4 tennis courts. Funny enough, too, 2 pickleball courts for some reason is cheaper than 1 tennis court. It's just I don't really know why. It's just kind of there's certain things because it's a bigger square footage of of a concrete or asphalt block. There's additional engineering to kind of make sure that doesn't fall apart over time. So pickleball courts actually tend to be a little bit cheaper. But our goal right now in our current plan that we've found some funding for is to establish 4 pickleball courts and 2 tennis courts. And we're trying to plan for the expansion of essentially having 4 more pickleball courts, 2 more tennis courts to have a total of 4 and 8. But
okay.
If we go out there and we built them and you're like, oh, they only did half of it, that was the plan. Okay. And the plan is to have space so that we can expand in the future when we find additional funds. Once again, with this being a kind of 1 to 15 year kind of plan. Right.
Yeah, these are all concepts. A lot of these are a little bit more immediate. Funding may be partially there, and then the others are really, they're concepts, they're dreams of what folks have kind of told you that, hey, we would like to see here. And one of the things too, Victor, that came about, even with with some of the Google land purchase was some funding for some of the parks and recs. And you guys have received some money for some of the lights and for restrooms, things like that. But there's another thing. What exactly is this one that we're looking at here?
Yeah, so one of the big things that you can find consistent in the 1997 plan and the 2011 plan and the now plan, and what we hear on a day-to-day basis is a community center. That currently, so there used to be a community center in Fincastle that was heavily rented out to small groups, clubs, organizations, some small businesses that don't, have space. They might own a little, ice cream shop, but they don't have a little meeting room that they can have their staff. Some people own a small business that there's only the two of them working out of their homes, and they have a bunch of volunteers who help them coordinate things, but they have no space, to take them. There's, different groups that play bridge and play bingo that would love to have kind of a permanent space that's dedicated to community use and to be able to rent out. So this building here, and once again, don't get too tied into it. We're just kind of planning that this is the space that we're likely going to do it. This is the rough estimate size of the building. Currently, we're looking at about a 10 to 15,000 square foot building with the ability to double that, over time as funding allows that we can do it. The way that, from the survey responses that we received, from the quality of life survey, from talking to people, we see very much that, half of this building, the first half to be built, which in this picture would likely be this, this side of it all, would be reservable space. So for families who want to have a birthday party, they want to have a family reunion, a small wedding. So there's a space there with a warming kitchen that they can be able to utilize this with outdoor seating and things like that, that they can just really enjoy the beautiful views that shoot off, to the right of this picture, out that way and really feel in this kind of serene kind of nature space. Beyond that, we would also have so we'd have kind of a big banquet room for that, some smaller multi-purpose rooms, maybe a small fitness studio. Think kind of like what you would find at a gym. There wouldn't be a lot of there wouldn't be any heavy weights. There would be some dumbbells and yoga mats, some mirrors, things like that. And then just various spaces to just kind of have some leisure fun, do a puzzle, play ping pong, do little light things like that. That's open and available to the public. Additional to that, there'd be bathrooms that are available on the outside as well as the inside. And then our staff, currently we're in Fincastle. The plan would be for us to relocate to this area because then you have eyes and ears at this park at all times. So being right there to be able to address immediate issues really helps to expedite the programming, the repair process of things, being able to offer programming right then and there. People can stop in when it's fresh on their mind, what they're thinking about, and then we're there to be able to respond to that.
Makes you more accessible.
And then the admin office for the entire county government is next door. It's just a few kind of parcels down in this area. So it just puts us closer to everybody. And it makes us close to the sports complex, which is another one of our event venues that we manage. Putting us there with those staff too just really completes our staff and kind of structure to make sure that we're the best Parks and Recreation department we can be and the most responsive to the community.
So one thing that stands out to me, I'm a big water guy. So what is the water feature, the 4 right there? And what are kind of the thoughts, that folks have been giving you about what could go there? What is that right now?
So it's Preston Pond. It currently exists. You can see it right now in the winter really well, but if you're out there on a warmer kind of climate day, you wouldn't probably even notice that it's there unless you've played disc golf or maybe ran cross country. You may have ran back there or something like that. Fun thing about this pond, there's always been kind of a plan, once again, even since the 90s, to essentially put a little dock out there so that people can just go sit, enjoy the serenity of being kind of in nature in that way. We hear from the public that in the winter, some people actually go out there and ice skate on it.
Oh, no.
And play hockey out there. So, we would have plans and intentions to clean it up, dredge the pond, and, just have it be a nice, serene place for people to be able to utilize. We even have hopes and dreams that we would have, kayaks and paddle boards that people can essentially learn how to do these things, especially for kids. Going on the river for the first time can be very scary, but having a small pond that they can learn the skills, feel confident on a boat. We would love for it to be a programming space, which also is nice having our staff, right there to be able to help with that.
Do you want to take a break? Savannah, you want to do a couple questions just for folks that have come about? So I think we kind of hit, we'll hit a little stopping point and take a couple of those.
Sure. Yeah, totally fine. So, one of the questions that we received on Facebook, this might be repetitive since we already talked about bathrooms, but they were curious to see how many bathrooms were included in these concepts and where are they located specifically throughout the park.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, bathroom 1 is kind of right here, next to these soccer fields that are heavily used. Then bathroom 2 would be right up here
On 30.
on 30.
Yeah.
Our idea and our hope and dreams, all of these, once again, wish lists that we're trying to find funding and support for, is that this bathroom and then the other bathrooms that I'll show you will also have kind of a pavilion overhang space so that they'd be reservable for people. So you have a 40-person party that you want to do, you want it to be close to these soccer fields, or you want it to be close to this kind of pump track, skate park, or maybe these kind of turf volleyball courts over here. We want there to be a space that you can have some shelter, some shade. Shade's another big thing that we hear from a lot of people, as well as restrooms. And those restrooms will also just be helpful to these, once again, multi-sport fields here that could be reshaped for whatever purpose that they may be. Yeah. Other bathrooms that you'll find here are right over here. This one, zoom in a little bit more. Being close to the pickleball, the tennis, the goal for number 14, 15 is to be kind of a splash pad, water feature kind of area for kids, as well as kind of these other features to the side of it too. Number 6 and 7, there's just a bunch of different things. This being kind of like called an aeronasium, which is basically just a covered gymnasium that allows for natural airflow to be able to help heat and cool it. And then the other bathrooms that would exist would be at the actual community center, with our hopes being that there would be some sort of outdoor seating area somewhere of a covered pavilion area that people can utilize those bathrooms, at any given time, as well as bathrooms inside the building. So our hope and dreams are to have these, I kind of put it in a triangle, so that in all these different spaces, there is a restroom relatively close by, with the hope of them all being, permanent restrooms. Now, if we're having a big event, we may have some portable restrooms for that big event, but otherwise that they're just kind of regularly available restrooms to the public.
And if you haven't been out to the park, it is big. It's a very large park. So I think that's one thing to know too, that there's a lot of space there to put some really cool things. So I like seeing what folks have come up with and dreamed up. John, do you have any questions or thoughts on anything that stand out for you so John is more on the kind of the planning side of things. Anything that stands out to you as being like, wow, this is really neat. I have not thought about something like that before.
Yeah, the concept design is really impressive. It shows a lot of great work that the department has done with the community already, and really reflects, I think, the interests and needs of the citizens of Botetourt. I'm a big hiker. I enjoy a lot of passive recreation as much as I enjoy active recreation. I really see a lot of opportunities to do so here. Have you heard anything from the community about whether they enjoy hiking trails more so than any of the active recreation that you see here?
Yeah, that was one of the fun, I don't want to say surprises, but surprises that our department actually talked about was that we were like, number one, we know people are going to say bathrooms. Like we know that's the number one priority. Like there's no doubt in our mind. But then one of the other top things when people have said, what's your favorite thing about Greenfield Recreation Park? Trails is always number one. The ability to walk around the track around the sports complex is a half mile. And then just having the cross country trail in the background, having it being able to connect to the Cherry Blossom Trail. Trails is really a thing that people are craving. So having all these different walkways, so you'll kind of see number 12, here, having ways, especially to allow people with accessibility needs, wheelchairs, to be able to access these kind of deeper parts of the park that they want to be able to see otherwise. We kind of have it where it's interconnected, and there's pathways you can just see kind of throughout this entirety of the park that are allowing people to go from one point to the other. And then, this feature we're pretty excited about, and we heard a really nice, comment from one member who He said, lived in Botetourt County for 20 years. Biking is a major crucial part of my life. To be able to see that biking was included in this plan was really special to me. And what's nice about, and I say like pump tracks and biking trails too, is that kids just like to run on them. They see it as a fun little roller coaster hill that they can run up and down. And this really utilizes well the terrain, that there's nothing else we could possibly do on this. It's a pretty steep kind of hill, but to put a bike trail here and kind of a skills trail here.
And that would be
something that people would very much enjoy. And then we're not touching and we're not getting rid of the cross-country trail, the horse equestrian trail that's existing around this. That's a 5K, 5,000 meter, 3.1 mile loop around the entirety of the park. So we tried our darndest to find ways here as well to establish a way to navigate the park, whether it just be walking within the action or walking outside the action. Walking trails is a pretty big thing that our department really wants to be able to help.
That's awesome.
Ensure it exists.
Yeah, it's very cool. That's what I was wondering too. The different lines you were talking about at the bottom. So one was the equestrian trail, and one is more of the bike.
Yeah, the red line that you see, and it once again it extends throughout the whole park, and here's the other terminus of it. That is for cross country / running and equestrian use, and then this one is really dedicated to bike use, and then these right here, this pump track, is kind of multi-sport. You'll see bikers, skateboarders, razor scooters, and then once again, just kids running on it. So, people be mindful of the sport that it's intended for.
Right.
And, we'll have signage around to kind of explain, what it is to people and help them understand it. But we imagine people like to see something and they see something that's exciting and they're going to probably try and run on it anyway.
I want to investigate it.
So, the amount of use that's on it, it may or may not make sense.
Yeah. So one of the questions we had a question from Corey was asking, do the plans include any of the cherry blossom trail at all? Is that something that is, I know it's still the same kind of vicinity, but does it include that?
Yeah. So the way that the Cherry Blossom Trail kind of goes, so you can't really see it on this map. So specifically, this concept plan is purely working within the boundaries of Greenfield Recreation Park. So the Cherry Blossom Trail is not technically a part of Greenfield Recreation Park, but it is a part of our larger strategy, connecting trails, establishing potential greenways in the future. And that is a key component to it. So our hope is that, and currently it exists, that there is a way to get from this cross-country trail to that Cherry Blossom Trail, but establishing additional signage. And those are things you'll probably see within the next year anyway, to help guide people and make sure that they don't get lost, that is the way to go, to continue on to it. With our hopes to eventually be to expand the Cherry Blossom Trail as well. Those are just, once again, they're separate from this concept plan purely because this is focused specifically on the park. But on that note, I want to be very clear to the public that, even though this focuses on Greenfield Recreation Park, we have other parks in the county. We have other locations in Buchanan and Eagle Rock, and Blue Ridge Park that have actually seen, recent renovations. So recently in Lost Lock Park in Eagle Rock, we had kind of refinished a pavilion out there, and behind Buchanan Elementary School, and then also at Blue Ridge Park, we refinished the tennis courts to be dual use for tennis and pickleball. And then at Blue Ridge Park as well, we also did the basketball courts as well. So if you've been to Blue Ridge Park, or if you haven't been to Blue Ridge Park in the last year, really recommend that you go out there and utilize those. But our goal is not to seem centric on just focusing on this park. It just happens to be a 133-acre piece of land that's not very developed, that has so much room for growth, where those other parks have a little bit less room to grow, but still have room to grow, but really require additional land that we don't necessarily own.
And it doesn't mean you're not going to do anything at the other parks. It just means that you're just kind of focusing on this as kind of the almost like the comprehensive plan of vision of what could happen here. So a couple, a lot of folks, some of the feedback we've gotten, Kyle said very excited. They've got a toddler that lives very close and can't wait to see the park grow with him. It's so cool to see folks interested in that. A couple folks like the concept of the community center. Some folks love this. Elizabeth said, I think this is a really good quote. This is a fantastic dream plan. And if it's all implemented, it could be a model for other localities as well. And I think the key word, it is a dream plan. So I think you got to have a dream, you got to have a somewhat of a vision. And I think, you working with citizens have really come up with some cool things. Now, take us into some of the most unique areas that you're like, what in the world? I've never thought of this that could be at the Greenfield Park. I mean, you've got the typical pickleball, the soccer, the baseball, softball, but what are some of the things that really highlight that could be kind of a destination location?
Yeah, and so here's just a little bit of some concepts. Once again, these are not like we're trying to build this exact same thing.
Right.
However, they just kind of help people to imagine, what things can be. So the Aeronasium I talked about earlier is one kind of thing that I like to talk through just to kind of help put it into perspective. So things like the YMCA exist, there's basketball courts that exist in a certain way. But, we would like to do something like this, which is known as an Aeronasium, which allows for, you can kind of see this this opening right over here that allows for natural airflow to come in. It's a covered space though. So you could be out there, and you're running around too, even if it is winter and you're running around out there, like there's not a sheet of ice there because, it's covered by that. And, if it's a hot day, you have coverings, you can see there's lights there. And it could be used for multi-sport use. It could even be just used for having a family picnic inside of there too. So this is kind of a unique feature. Everybody will be Pinteresting and Googling what an Aeronasium is.
Right, I know, like this is new to me.
But that's like, one unique feature. Another unique one, so a pump track. Our goal for having a skate park as well as a pump track is having a safe space for families, kids. It's actually a growing sport for adults as well. To have a space to do this within their own county lines. Now in Wasena Park in Roanoke, they're developing a much larger version of this. And our goal is not to compete with that, but to give a local offering on a smaller scale that still has unique features that they won't find at Wasena Park.
And it might be a good place to learn.
Exactly.
Too. It's kind of like the bunny slopes at the ski.
Exactly. It can be very intimidating to go to this very big, skate park, but to have this kind of smaller one in your backyard might make a lot of sense. Some other one of the most unique features that people are like, what's an RC car? So let me see if I can pull this here. This is an example. There's variations of this too, that there's big rock features. So imagine those videos you see of Jeeps that are in 4-wheel drive, the tires are all up and down the rocks and going around. So some places have it as a track that you can race them. Some places have them as rock features that you climb up and down and scale them. So this is just an example of, just the other day I saw people driving RC cars at this park in the ice, driving up and down the hill. So to have a unique feature for that could be used for other things. You could have bikes on here and do a little dirt bike race, for kids. You could have a running race for young kids as well. There's a lot that you can do with this feature. Yeah, and then, splash pad style features. I'm a big fan of splash pads that drop water down on you instead of shoot water up. Playgrounds, we'd love to have it be nature inspired. Bluebirds are popular, a species of bird that are in this area that we, love to pay homage to the fact that they use Botetourt as their home. And then, some other just kind of general features, we just love to have things that people can climb on.
Right.
I'd love to see just rock faces that give kids the sense of wonder and the ability to climb. So we hope to see, features like that. Even this barn right here is a playground that kids can climb into, run around. There might be a little, sand pit inside of there that they can kind of dig around and utilize that.
When you're looking at some of these things, obviously these are kind of, this is inspiration, if you will, right? I mean, you just kind of go and take what folks have kind of given you thoughts of what they'd like to see and just kind of find examples of that. Yeah, that's really cool.
And we're nowhere near the start of necessarily designing the building,
right?
But very much, this is a building in Henrico County on the bottom left which was a reclaimed barn turned into a community center.
Mhm.
That very much has a lot of the features that, that I spoke about earlier on. Really paying respect to, this was an agricultural community, still is an agricultural community. And to have a farm style building be their community center just really seems like it fits. So the architecture is this kind of the route that we're looking at.
Yeah.
And then, different art features and stuff, love the idea of having little critters and animals, that are on the trees and the little tags. To also teach kids about what is in their backyard, and really just appreciate, the park for giving them that opportunity.
That's really cool. Well, let's pause. We'll take a couple more questions that may have been coming in too.
Yeah, so multiple citizens had questions about adding possibly like a farmer's market or event space. Specifically, Tuscany said, love the idea of a farmer's market area as well as shaded area for outdoor yoga classes and such. Is this space included in current concepts or could be added in the next concept?
Yeah, it's definitely something that's open for discussion. So one of the things I love about this plan is really this community center and how it ties in, and all the parking areas. I'll kind of zoom into here to kind of show it. So our hopes and intentions is that, maybe we block off this section here, and then this section here becomes a nice space for vendors or something to be able to set up. Maybe there's a big, event happening on these fields out this way. Once again, these lines are just suggestions. They're not actually like permanent fences or anything like that. That there's a space for that. Same here, it could be that there's vendors lined up around here. We block off this so that cars can't get in and out of that, but they can still park around it and surround it too. One fun idea that we had is that this parking space here can be a roller rink / a ice skating rink in the winter. And then the building here acts as the lodge. So you go get your hot chocolate, you have your way to escape. There's windows and seating here that you can watch your kids, be right here and playing. And so this parking design is intentional to allow for things such as farmers markets. Now, we're not saying that, they should be, we're not saying that they shouldn't be here. We're just saying that they're capable, that there's different events, art festivals, whatever it may be. And that could exist everywhere, like you can block off a section here to people and be able to utilize all of this for something on a hardscape.
Yeah.
The patio that we have in this drawing specifically, out here. Right now there's a court here, but I can very well see there not being a court there. And it's just a plaza. It's just a hardscape, a space, and there's a little, in this drawing here, a little amphitheater, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
To be able to have a little small show here, and there might be people dancing on the ground here. There's a lot of opportunities that that's not a part of our plan as to this is designed for that, but it is designed to be capable of being everything for everyone in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, we have to drop the line somewhere.
Right.
Right now, we're not trying to necessarily build a Berglund Center. We're not trying to build a room for 800 people. We're trying to build rooms for 100 people, or maybe 250 people. We're trying to be mindful of keeping this park not overly developed. I love the idea of keeping this as a big green space.
Mm-hmm.
When people aren't using it, this is a big green space. This is a big green space. And it just allows for the people to be able to feel as if they're still out in nature, being very intentionally designed for them.
Now, when it comes to this, a lot of folks would think, you honestly, a lot of places would even charge for something like this. If you come in, it's like a space that you would charge money to come to as a park.
Yeah.
But this is where will the cost of all the amenities? This is going to be an open space that's public space.
Yeah. Part of the plan is kind of working through that. We're not quite there yet to make definitive answers of yes or no for things.
Mm-hmm.
However, I can speak to our current park structure is that we have the ability to reserve space for private use for specific events.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody wanted to come out here and just kick a ball with their child, if they wanted to throw a ball with their child, if they wanted to go play disc golf, there's no cost associated with that. We don't want them to have a cost associated with that.
Right.
The public park, it's available to them. The bike track, all these outside features that you see, pretty much every outside feature here, I can't imagine there being some kind of charge to it unless it's an organized group trying to do something.
Right.
So if you have a travel soccer team and you're looking for a consistent field to practice on that's guaranteed yours, that when you show up, you have a permanent permit and can say, I rented this field, we need this for our practice. We have the ability to do that at a very low cost. Same with the pavilion spaces, open and available to the public to use, but if somebody has a birthday party and they want to guarantee that they have that space, they can reserve that space. Currently, our structure, maybe $40 is something that you might be paying, maybe $80. And then this community center, the same idea, like a lot of this building may be open to the public for various reasons. Depending on the features that are inside of there, though, it may change. We might decide that there is a ropes course on the inside of building 2. Not saying that that's what we're thinking, but it's a higher dollar feature to run that we may charge some kind of fee to be able to enter into that. Or there might be a yoga class or a fitness class that, outside, is free, open to the public, but maybe inside it's a series and we charge some kind of registration fee for that. We find too, when people register for something and pay even $5, they're way more likely to show up than if they didn't pay anything.
Right.
It gives them a little bit of a buy-in to it. And our hope is that, those fees all kind of just help to, explain that this park is worthwhile building and that it goes back towards the infrastructure of the building, the heating bills and all that. And the way that our county budget kind of works, it goes into the general fund, but once again, it alleviates the taxpayer burden, the revenue that this place could generate.
Yeah.
But our hope is that this is a space that's available for the public and to be able to utilize, being Botetourt centric, but still, this park being open to the public as any other park, that you go to would be open to.
So, John, I have a question for you. So being part of you guys just finished your comprehensive plan, got that approved and all that. When you're doing comprehensive plans and thinking this far in advance, I mean, what are your thoughts? Like, how do you go about, implementing some of this stuff? Or is it a guideline? Is it kind of a basic, basis of where you would like to go? I mean, how do you, I guess, go through with this process, a typical comprehensive plan?
Yeah, something like this is the foundation of this is teamwork. And Victor's got a great team. He's got a great vision for this. It takes the board of supervisors, the citizens, and Victor's team and the county as a whole to actually implement a plan like this. So this is in the concept stage. It's a great concept. And the purpose of it is to figure out what is feasible, what's wanted by the community. And then we take this, get it into a plan, and then figure out the funding for it. So it's all kind of connected probably through the capital improvement program as well, which is an annual program the county goes through to fund big capital projects like this. And every step of the way, there's opportunity for community and public engagement. So none of this is done in a black box that people don't get to see or interact with. But it takes each community member, each interested party in the process to get this to fruition. So something like this, we typically see like a phased approach. So Victor and his team and the board might be able to phase, part A of this, and there'll be a part B and C. The overall plan links those parts together, but there might only be funding for, the pickleball courts initially or the pump track initially, and then you plant the seeds for the rest of it. So something like this, while it is a long-range vision concept, it takes many people to get together to figure out which pieces are funded first and then how that interacts with the rest of the plan.
I mean, I think it's a good analogy is what I think about it. Disney World was not built in a day or a year or 10 years. I mean, it's something that happens over time that people will come to and enjoy. And so I think, but you have to have that vision first and that community input. And that's really the stage that you're at right now.
Yeah. And the community input, I cannot stress enough, is such a valuable component to getting anything done. We want to hear from the public. Do you want this? Like, what do you want of it? What do you want bigger? The board, talking to Max Scotthorn, like he wants to hear from the public. Like currently, our survey has 500 responses. He wants to see 30,000 responses, right? Yeah. He wants to see that this is a thing that people are asking for. And, the board, the Parks and Recreation Commission, there are members who are dedicated to, hearing the public and what they want. So definitely don't shy away from even just reaching out to us. Our email is recreation@botetourtva.gov. We're happy to forward on your testimonials, your thought processes on, hey, to have a public place to skate, to have a a field that can be lit at night so that my kid isn't playing in the dark, that there's a way that my kids can stay active, that there's a community building that we can rent and utilize for our clubs that currently meet outside of each other's houses and travel to different restaurants and just don't really have a permanent place. Like, we really want and need to hear from the community to make sure that, phase 2 happens and phase 3 happens. And the nice thing about having community development, their team, our team, is that, if we have your support, then we can make it happen. We can seek out grants, we can seek out funding, and grants love to hear that there's community support for it. So if I can show a grant that, hey, 10,000 people filled out this survey and they said bathrooms, then, it's much easier for us to go right and make that happen. And then the stages too, our hope is that, with the parking and all that too, is that we're adding the parking alongside the feature that we're creating, too.
Very good. Now, I think it's some great explanations on all this. We got to go a lot of comments too. Dan said, been living in Botetourt for 20 years. Really appreciate the feedback and allowing that feedback too, and involving the community. I think that's what folks really appreciate about this is that, with a plan this big and big dreams, you've got to start somewhere, and that comes with community feedback. And then the question is, as you both mentioned, where do you start with that? Which ones, go through first, which ones get approved, and of course takes a lot of steps to make that happen.
Yeah.
So anything,
and as mentioned, the ones that we've decided to kind of move along first, and that the board has been supportive of, and deciding what projects we move forward on in the last fiscal year was things that were in the 2011 plan and also the things that were in the 1997 plan. Yeah. So when it came to the community building, tennis courts, and then eventual pickleball courts, as pickleball has picked up a lot of steam over the last few years, the lights and the bathrooms were all things that were like, in 1997, this would be amazing, we should plan for this here. And in 2011, it's like, hey, we never got it done. And then now it's like, it's getting real and it's really exciting to be able to be a part of that process. But those, even though this concept isn't complete, were plans from 1997 that's hopefully coming into fruition. And the more and more momentum we can get from the public, hopefully the quicker we can move about things every year. Once again, our goal is incrementally get this done.
Add something new. Very good. Anything that you all can think of, questions that you have? I think this is I think the things that really stand out to me is that this is a long range vision, a concept for this. It doesn't mean that other parks are not going to get love. It doesn't mean that everything is a done deal right now. So I think, that's one of the things that I think a lot of folks ask about is, who's paying for this? How are we going to get this done? Well, it's not going to happen. Snap your fingers right away. It's going to be a long-term project.
Yeah.
And we'll morph as it goes along, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I hope it's too, there's some smaller features that we haven't even necessarily talked about yet around like a outdoor fitness area and then playgrounds. And, these can interchange. Maybe all 4 of these are playgrounds. Maybe one's a fitness area. Maybe the splash pad ends up being bigger. But our hope is that some of these smaller projects too, that we can kind of keep moving along as we go.
I say like this is a destination. It could be a destination park, really, where people could come and spend most of their day or come each week and bring the kids and the family or the teenagers or even adults and try something different each time they come. So
yeah, and we really love the idea of when you're driving down into the park, you can see potentially someone racing you on a bicycle.
Right. Yeah.
It's just really exciting to see that when you see a piece of land, you're like, wow, that's a lot of grass to mow. And to see it actually become something, over time, it really invites you into the park. And as you drive throughout the park, you're just like, oh, there's something new here. There's something new here. It's just, a lot of intentionality went behind this. Once again, this was all based off of feedback from the 2023 Quality of Life Survey. And then we put out a survey before we came up with this draft to get some preliminary thoughts as to what do you really want to see in this draft, added that, and now we're fine tweaking it. Eventually, it'll be a hybrid of the two concepts. Maybe something new will come up, and we want to be very clear One comment I remember reading was about a mother who was just asking for a place that she can nurse her child and feel comfortable doing that.
Right.
You know, there is the occasional, just know that every voice is being heard, everything is being looked at. There are people looking for additional, you know, things for equestrian. Just because it's not the majority doesn't mean it's not important.
Right.
And, you know, we're constantly looking at those too. So never think that your idea is so out there. My fun idea that I came up with is the concept of Muscle Mountain.
What
You
is
know,
that?
so it's just like an outdoor fitness area utilizing the hill to kind of help do that. So that was one of those like kind of silly, goofy, funny things that I said that everyone's kind of caught on to.
Yeah.
I'm hearing from different park vendors throughout the country who are like, tell me about this Muscle Mountain idea that you came up with. Because, you know, people just say, yeah, so silly, funny things like that. And then even the small things, like I said, the RC car track over here that, you know, it may not be the thing that everybody has done before, but they might see it and then they, you know, they want it too.
Right.
So we just really wanted to be intentional to hear everyone's opinion. So feel free to reach out to us at any time.
Very good.
Goal of this park also is trying to be relatively low maintenance. So things like I saw comments around sand volleyball, which is amazing. And I love having sand volleyball. One issue with sand volleyball is that hornets love the sand. And hornets love to dig in the sand.
Hornets.
Yeah, hornets.
Oh, I was
they love to
thinking
dig in the
cats,
sand.
Victor.
Oh yeah, cats too. They use it as a big litter box, you know, and you know, once one person steps in it, people have different opinions on what looks good as that.
Yeah.
So it would require a lot of staff to go out there regularly to maintain that. Because once again, some people believe the sand should all be in the middle. Some people believe it should be completely spread out fine. Some people like the circles in it. You know, it becomes a big Zen garden for some people. So by having it be like an artificial kind of turf, you know, style, it feels good on your feet. You know, it is low maintenance and it allows for kind of regular play. You know, permanent lines can be established onto it as well, pretty well. So like there is some design choices. Once again, we're not settled on, but you know, it's not that sand volleyball, you know, isn't a thing that we would love to see. It's just that our staff wants to be intentional about, you know, what's the low maintenance, high delivery product that we can give that would be enjoyable for the public.
That makes sense. All right. Well, listen, if anybody would like to see this plan and take a closer look, kind of like what Victor's doing right now, if you want to go, that's going to be on the website, on the Parks and Rec site. And is there still time to give feedback on things?
Yeah, the survey is still open. We plan to not really close it. You know, like I said, this is kind of an ongoing process that we're hoping probably in the next month. We'll start kind of looking deeper into this. So, you know, March 1st, probably we'll be taking all the feedback that we've been given and really, you know, diving into the next iteration of this draft.
Very good. All right. Well, check it out on the website and on the Parks and Rec section. And of course, look for additional updates from Victor and the team on things that are ongoing with Parks and Recreation. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.